Hello YouTube, this is going to be a technique tutorial type of video for triple strokes. Now, a lot of younger students understand how single strokes work, they understand how diddles or double strokes work, but when you ask them to play a triple stroke, they don't really know what to do. You know, maybe they'll try to bounce it. They don't know what to do. And a lot of times the instructor will just say, you just gotta figure it out, or, I don't know what, you just gotta figure it out, I don't know what to do, So I'm here today to help you guys. I'm gonna give you 4 techniques to use in order to master, or at least make it sound good, a triple stroke with your right hand. Now, this is going to be specifically for match grip. I have the camera set up like this so you can see the side of my hand, because if I do it head on, you can't really see my fingers and stuff. It's kind of hidden in the back. So I have the side cam so you can see the right hand. That means I'm not going to be able to show you the left hand, but you just need to apply the same thing. I'm not going to show you traditional grip because this is meant for younger students who have problems with triple bounces, and most of those students play with match grip. So if you're having problems in the traditional grip, this video isn't for you. Maybe in the future I'll have another video, but this video is specifically for match grip triple strokes. So let's get started. Technique number 1 is the easiest one to understand. You're going to basically force out every note with your wrist. Just like that. Now, you can only get so fast with this before it starts to get really strenuous, Once we reach that threshold, we have to switch to a different technique. But the reason this technique is very good is because 1, it gives you even strokes. 2, you're able to play at a big volume or a high dynamic level, such as forte, mezzo forte, fortissimo, something like that. And 3, it gives you a very nice control over the stick. All the notes are controlled because you're forcing each one. Again, they sound even because you're controlling each one, and you can play that loud. Now, again, all I'm doing for this is using my wrist and forcing out every note. Now, the hand can be open a little bit to allow the stick to wiggle or breathe a little bit. You don't want to clench down all the way, and you don't want to open up all the way. You don't want to play triple strokes with your wrist open, or with your wrist with your fingers all the way open. That's not going to work. It's not going to get you good sound quality. You need to have it closed so that you can maintain control. You can have it a little bit open so the stick breathes and moves slightly, but you don't want it to be all the way open. A lot of beginners make that mistake. They open their hand too much, they lose control, they lose quality of sound. So don't do that when you're using your wrist, but don't squeeze it down all the way either. It has to be that middle ground where you're still using your wrist, but it still has a little bit of breathe. It can still move slightly. Okay, so that's the wrist technique. The next technique we're going to use from there is forcing all notes with our fingertips. Now this is in French grip, so I'll switch to German grip. And all I'm doing is forcing each note with my fingers. And you can see my fingers moving and controlling the stick. My wrist, for the most part, is staying still. This is good for a medium tempo. Like that. It gives you a pretty equal sound since you're forcing each note. It doesn't give you as large of a dynamic level, but you still have control. And it works your finger technique. If you don't have good finger technique, this is going to be difficult for you to do. Although this is a good way to build finger technique, doing something like this, triple strokes. Okay, so let's say forcing every note just isn't working. Do we start bouncing the stick 100%? No, not 100%. The next technique we're going to go to is kind of half and half. It's half bounce, half forced. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to throw the stick down with our wrist and get a nice open diddle, so 2 strokes. And we're going to keep our hand nice and open. Then what we're going to do is we're going to snap our fingers closed, and that'll force the stick downward into the pad. So it'll look something like this. We're going to throw the wrist down, let it bounce one more time, and then close the fingers. So wrist, bounce, fingers. Wrist, bounce, fingers. So what you'll see is you'll see my wrist go down, You'll see it bounce with my wrist still down and my fingers closed, and then you'll see me snap it. This is similar to a push-pull technique. If you know push-pull. If you don't worry about it. But all what we're doing is we're throwing it down with our wrist, getting a nice diddle, and then closing our fingers. It's important that you open your fingers. If you leave your fingers too closed, you're not going to be able to get that third note. Also, opening the fingers allows the diddle to breathe more and create more notes. A lot of times when you close the fingers, you get a small diddle. We want an open diddle so that we can close it on the last note. The thing about this one that is nice is it relaxes a little bit because you're not having to force each note. But one thing it does do is it does tend to smash the third note a little bit since you're forcing it. Now, obviously I'm exaggerating that, but that tends to happen when you do this technique. But it can work, as I just did. And basically what that does is it turns it from a push-pull to like a triple push-pull. And therefore, you're having to force two of the notes, one with the wrist, one with the fingers, and one with the bounce. So it's a combination of all of the techniques. One wrist stroke, one bounce, one finger stroke. It's a good way to incorporate all the techniques into one stroke. Now, if that doesn't work, because that's not always the optimal way to play it. Sometimes it's just easier to force it out with your fingers. You know, that's also really good for control, but sometimes we just have to go faster than that. And the only way to get faster is to bounce the stick 100%. And for that, we're going to have to use just sheer bounce and rely on our fulcrum pressure, a little bit of pressure from the index finger, and a good, nice open wrist stroke. So, how am I doing this? First of all, it starts with the motion. I'm very relaxed in my wrist, and I'm using a little bit of arm. This is to generate more power. On a standard diddle, a lot of times I can just use my wrist. But that doesn't produce enough power to produce 3 equal notes. It tends to produce 1 equal note, 1 almost equal note, and then That's not what we want. We want at least 3 equal notes. We're going to have to put more force into the stroke. This is why I incorporate the arm. I'm also using a molar motion for this. If you don't know what molar technique is, sorry, but if you do, having a molar whipping motion can definitely help you get your triple strokes to sound even. Now, the main part of this that you need to understand is that you have to squeeze the stick at the fulcrum point, but you also have to apply pressure from the tip of the index finger, like so. And that'll basically force the stick into the pad. So it's a combination of squeezing and pressure from the index finger with a big, powerful stroke that gets the nice, even triple stroke. If you don't have enough wrist power, it won't sound very good. It'll sound kind of small and you know, you won't get the nice. It'll sound kind of like that, kind of weak. If you don't apply pressure and you rely simply on the bounce, you can get it, but you won't be able to go fast. It just doesn't work. You have to be able to apply pressure. If you only squeeze the stick, you'll lose control. If you only apply pressure in the back, you'll also lose control. It has to be a combination of an open stroke, pressure on the fulcrum, and pressure with the tip of the index finger. Also, for this particular technique, you may notice I'm leaving my hand nice and open. This isn't because I'm not controlling the stick. This isn't because I'm letting it move too much. It's because I'm staying relaxed. I have to move my other fingers out of the way to allow the stick to move naturally. If I squeeze my fingers in there, they can get in the way. So don't think that because I'm pulling my fingers away, I'm losing control or I have bad technique. That's not the case. This particular stroke relies on 1, being relaxed, and 2, the stick being able to move very easily without anything obstructing it. And adding your fingers can obstruct the motion of the stick. So I hope those 4 techniques help you develop good triple stroke technique. Triple strokes are not easy, but they are very valuable to learn. A lot of things, such as flam patterns, paradiddles, double paradiddles, all that kind of stuff, use combinations of triple strokes in some way, especially when you start adding flams to those. Flams is the big thing where triple strokes are important. So I hope this video helped you. If you have any questions, feel free to post a comment below. Thank you for watching. Check out some of my other content, and I'll see you guys next time.